Hi everyone, welcome to my classroom. I am Dr. Peiris. Today I am going to explain you 4 variable K-maps. First I'll show you what is the 4 variable K-map and what are the minterms and what is the arrangement of the minterms in the 4 variable K-map. Then I'll explain you what are the rules to follow when we group adjacent ones to minimize the functions. Then I'll show you some examples of how to simplify Boolean functions and expressions using K-maps. So what is the 4 variable K-map? Basically, why do we use K-maps? We use K-maps to obtain the minimized representation of any given Boolean function. So if you use K-maps, you can reduce the number of terms or the number of literals in a given function, which means you are basically reducing number of gates required to build a circuit, which eventually help to reduce the cost and the complexity of a given circuit. And how do we know the number of squares in a K-map? It depends on the number of inputs or the variables in the function. And the number of squares are given by 2 raised to the n. N is the number of inputs. So if you have a 4 variable K-map, which means it's 4 inputs, so 2 raised to the 4 gives you 16 squares. And each square represents a minterm. So if you have 4 variables a, b, c, d, you need to follow the particular order as you do in the truth table. So we go basically in a truth table a, b, c, d. So if you have the truth table a, b, c, d, and if you have written down all the 16 combinations in a truth table, we follow the same order here when you write down the 4 variables on the K-map. Basically the first 2 goes down and the last 2 variables goes up. And the first one is 0 0, the 0 1 1 1 1 0. Same order here 0 0 0 1 1 1 1 0. And this shows how the minterms are placed. It basically follows these binary values in a truth table. So for example, if it is all 0 0 0 0, it corresponds to M0. And if you look at this is M15, which is basically the last one. It's 1 1 1 1, so which is correct. So you must maintain this order to do the K-maps properly. So you can see how the minterms are placed. M0, M1, M2, M3 here, M4, M5, M6, M7, and the M8 goes to the last one. M8, M9, M10, M11, M12, M13, M14, M15. So this is the order that you need to maintain when we do the grouping and when we do the K-maps. So these binary values are basically written in terms of the variables a, b, and c, d in this diagram. So this is what I will be using when I show you the examples in this lecture. So 0 0 means we need to prime both variables, so it becomes a prime b prime. 0 1 means a prime, this is b. So similarly you do all 4 on this side also and all 4 on this side also. So it's basically the prime a prime b prime, a prime b, a b prime, then c prime d prime, c prime d, c d prime. So this chart must be remembered for you to do the K-maps properly and then use that to minimize the number of terms and the literals in a K-map. If you alter this order, it is not going to work properly and it would be wrong. So make sure you follow this particular order when you do the K-maps. Now let's see what are the rules we need to follow when we do groups of minterms in a K-map. So our goal is to minimize the number of terms in a given function as well as the number of literals or the number of variables in a single term. So to do that task, we need to combine adjacent ones in the K-map and then make groups. When you do the groups of number of ones, it must be a power of 2. So the number of ones in the group must be a power of 2, which means you can have groups which has 2 ones, 4 ones, 8 ones, 16 ones, and it continues as a power of 2. The larger the number of ones combined, the smaller the number of literals or variables in the term. And these two are very important you need to consider these when you group the terms in a K-map. So in the 4 variable K-map, the first and the fourth columns are considered adjacent, as well as first and fourth rows are considered adjacent. So that makes the grouping done properly. Make sure that you remember that first and the fourth columns are adjacent, first and the fourth rows are also adjacent. So let's see some examples. So this is a 4 variable function. Input variables are a, b, c, d, and this is the sum of minterms. So at these minterms, the function has a logic 1 at these minterms, which means we can find these minterms on the K-map and then mark it with logic 1, and everything else need to be logic 0. We are not going to put zeros because we are interested only about logic 1s. So you go and mark 1s on these minterms. So we have 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 11. So these are the minterms which has a logic 1 following the given sum of minterms 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 11. Now how do we group these? So we are looking for largest number of ones in a group. So when you do the grouping, you make sure that you have more ones in a group, but the number of ones need to be a power of 2. So how do we do this grouping? Definitely you can see there are 4 ones here, so you can group that 4 to make a larger group. Now I'm going to write down that first, so we do one term at a time to make it less confusing. Now for this group, you must look for the common variables on this side as well as on this side. So for these 2 rows, what is the common variable? If you look at that, you can see a prime is common, but the other one is b prime and b, so that is different. So the only common variable for these 2 rows is a prime. So I'm going to have that literal, as well as we need to find what is common on this side. So it is c and c for both columns, which means c is common, but the d and d prime are different. So the only common variable is c, a prime c. Now we have to group this one and this one also. How do we group this? You can easily do this one. So that's the only way that you can do grouping for that. Now what is that group correspond to? So they both are on this row, which means both have the same row, which is a prime b prime. So that is always common since they both are on the same row. Now these 2 are in this column and this column. So what is the common variable for these 2? D and D. That's going to be D. Now there is one more one left. How do we combine that? So following the rules, we can consider that 4th row and the first row are adjacent. So by considering that they are adjacent, you can combine this one with the one over here. So we can make a group like this. So that's a single group. So basically the one in the square 11 and the one in the square 3 make a one single group. Now what's common for this row and this row? Because they are in the 4th row and the first row. Now if you look at the 2 terms, what's column? It's b prime in both. So b prime is common, and at the same time they both on this column, which means cd is common for both terms. So we always look for common variables once you do grouping. So this is how we do grouping for this question and then find the terms. Let's see the next one. So here we have more ones. There are lots of minterms which has logic 1. So let's mark them on the K-map. 0, 1, 4, 5, 8, 9, 12, 13, 15. So these are the ones or the minterms which has logic 1. Now how do we group this one? So always we look for the largest possible group which has more ones, as well as the number of ones in the group must be a power of 2. So if you look at this entire area, I have 4 ones here, 4 ones here. So if I combine these, I'm going to get 8 ones, which is a power of 2, which means I can make a larger group here because they are all adjacent, and I can make a group which has 8 ones. The 8 is a power of 2, so you can do a group of ones when there are 8. So what is that term correspond to? Now you need to look what is common on this side. Definitely nothing is common because they are all 4 different terms. Now what is common for the 2 columns? C prime, C prime, so that is common. So you see what happened when you have 8 ones in a group, you're going to reduce the term to a single literal. So that is what we want. We need to reduce the literals as much as possible. So if you find a group with 8 ones inside, you're going to end up having a single literal. Now we finished with that, and we need to group this one. So you can do with 30. You cannot do all 3. If you do 3 is not the power of 2, so you cannot combine all 3. It has to be always a power of 2, which means we combine only with 13. Now what is common for that? So they both are on this row, which means A and B common. And now what is common for this column and this column? So we go and look it. So we see the D is common. A, B, D. So that's how you do this question. See another one. This one has lots of ones. 0, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14. Now how do we do this one? So let me write down the function f a b c d. Now how do we group this? So again we're going to make that simple group. So this gives us a very large group, and now that term correspond to C prime is common on this side. Nothing is common in this side because it's all different. C prime. Now how do we group this? This is only 3, so you cannot combine these 3. You cannot do that because it's only 3 here. You can do these 2 and these 2, but that is not the best way to do it, because we said that we assume the first and the fourth columns are adjacent, which means whatever the ones in this side, I can combine them with this side also. So what is the best way to do that? So we need to enclose as much as ones we need. So the best way to do this like this, I'm going to group these 2 with these 2, which means I am making a single group with 4 ones. So this group, this is a single group actually, it has 4 ones. So that's the largest possible group that I can do in that way. So what that term correspond to? So it's in 2 different rows, this one and this one. So what's the common variable on this side? A prime. And now it's on the first column and the fourth column. So what's the common variable? D prime, D prime. So you finish that. Now how do we do this one? You can do 14 and 12, but that's not the best way to do it. The best way to do is like this: 6 and 14, and then you do 4 and 12. So 6 and 14 and 4 and 12 makes a single group. So for this group, this is a single group. So here it is in these 2 rows. So what's common? B. And then it's on the first column again and the fourth column. So what's common for first and fourth column? D prime. So it's going to be BD prime. So this is how you do grouping in a question like this. It is very easy to get it wrong, so make sure that you try to group as much as ones in a single group, as well as it has to be a power of 2. And don't forget that the first and the fourth columns are adjacent, as well as first and fourth rows are adjacent. Let's see another one. 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15. Okay, how do we group this one? This looks like some type of pattern. Again, you need to find the largest group which has many number of ones. So I can easily see I have a larger group in the middle. So here you combine 8 ones in the middle. Now what is common on this side? Nothing is common because it's on 4 different rows. For these 2 columns, it's D common, D. Now we have the ones left in corners. So how can I do the ones in the corners? So we said that the first and the fourth row are adjacent, as well as 1 and fourth column are adjacent, which means the corners can be done like this. So which makes a single group. So these 4, this one, this one, this and this, they make a single group because they are all adjacent. So you can make a group like that for the corners very easily. Now how do we find the common term for that? So what's common for the first and the fourth row? B prime is common, and they are on the first and the fourth column, so it is D prime common. So don't forget that you can combine all 4. So you might think to combine only this and that. No, you must combine all 4 because it get rid of one term as well as a literal. So make sure that you do that. And we have one more left, 14. How do we combine this one? Again, we are looking to make a largest possible ones combined, which means we can make a group over here with 4. This is how you do combine the min term in the 14. So you might think to just combine this way, only these 2, but that's not the best possible way to do it. You must combine all 4, so it will reduce the number of literals. Now for these 2 rows, so for this group, it is in these 2 rows. So what is common? A is common. Now again, this is in these 2 columns, so C is common. So this is how you do these type of questions. I hope it is clear. Now let's see another one. So in this case, the function is given in terms of variables, not in terms of min terms. So they are given as different terms. So first thing is to find out where the min terms are. So you basically need to look for these terms in the K-map and then mark the ones in there. So let's do one at a time. The first one is A prime, B prime, C prime. So I must go and find A prime, B prime, C prime. So where is A prime, B prime? So this is A prime, B prime. This row is A prime, B prime. But I need only C prime. So this is C prime. This is also C prime. So I'll put ones in there. Next one is A, B prime, C prime. So A B prime, C prime. So where is A B prime? Here is A B prime. Now we are looking for C prime. So again, this and this C prime. So we put the ones over here. Next one, B prime, C D prime. So it is easy to look for C D prime first. Here is C D prime, but we need B prime also. So this is B prime, this is also B prime. So you put a 1 here and here. This has B prime, C D prime, this has B prime, C D prime. And the next one is A prime, B, C, D prime. Here is A prime, B, and we need C, D prime. So this is square A prime, B, C, D prime. So it's only 1, 1 here. Now this is how you mark the ones when the terms are given, not the min terms. Now you have mark the ones. Now we follow the same rules that we learned before to do the groups. So what is the best way to do this grouping? So definitely you have a one here which need to be combined, so you can do the corners. To do that, combine the corners. We can easily do that, combine corners. So let's see what does that correspond to. So two rows, b prime is common, and these two columns d prime is common. So that's the first one. Now how do we group these ones? So you can see that you can do like this, because we know the first and the fourth row are adjacent, so you can make that larger group. So for that row and the first row, b prime is common, and for these two columns, what is common? C prime is common. So that's done. Now only one left, so we need to combine that. So the only way to do that is this way. So we make this group. So that correspond to what? So these two rows, common variable is a prime, and it's in this column, so it is cd prime. So this is how you do this question. So it depends on where you start. So sometimes you will not be able to come to this point at once, so you can try different grouping methods and see which one gives you the lowest number of terms as well as lowest number of literals. Let's do another one. So the first one is a prime cd prime. So here is cd prime. Now I am looking for a prime. So here is a prime, here is a prime. So I have a prime cd prime here. Next one is, I'm sorry, just missed, just tap the next one, sorry. Now let's we go do the next term, a b prime d prime. So we looking for b prime d prime and a. So let's look for a b prime first. Here is a b prime, but at the same time we need d prime. So a b prime d prime is here and here. The next one is a prime bd. So we look a prime b first. Here is a prime b, and we need d. So it's d over here, 5 and 7. Next one a b c d. Here is a b, here is c d. So a b c d is this square. The last one, a prime b prime c prime d prime. So it should be this one, a prime b prime c prime d prime, right over here. So you mark all the ones now. Now you can do grouping. Now again you can start thinking how you're going to group this. So again we have these ones in the corners, so definitely we're going to start with that, the ones on the corners. Now what is common for that? This row and this row, b prime is common, and for the first and the last column, d prime is common. So b prime d prime. Now how do we group the other terms? So this one need to be definitely grouped with that, so it has to go like this. So what's common for that group? A prime b and then d. A prime b, d is common from the two columns. So this one need to go definitely with 7. So we do that. Now what's common for these two? B is common and then C, D. B, C, D. The last one, so it has to group with 2. For that, now what's common for this one? A prime is common, C, D prime. A prime, C, D prime. So this is how you do this one. So it's easy sometimes if you start with the corners, which means you basically grouped many ones first and then you go to the other remaining ones. And another question, first one is AB. So here is AB, so which means we need to mark once in that all squares AB. CD prime, so here is CD prime, so entire column need to be marked with ones. Then A prime BC prime, so where is A prime BC prime? Here is A prime B, we need C prime, which is here and here. Next one, AC prime D prime, so we first look for C prime D prime, this column. Then we need A, so it's here and here. The last one, ACD, here is CD and the A is here and here. Now how do we do this question? How do we group this one? So you need to think a little bit, lots of ones everywhere, how to make the best possible grouping here. So definitely I can do this group here, the entire group CD prime. You can group that CD prime. Now anything else that you can do, you can group these four. There are 4 terms here, so that's the best way to combine those 4 terms. Now what's common for that? B is common, and for these two C prime is common, so it's BC prime. Now how to group this one? So you need to think how to group that one. We can do only these two, but that's not the possible way. You must do like this. This is the best way to do that. You combine that, so that's the best way. What's common for that? A, and this column is D prime. It's going to be AD prime, AD prime, AD prime. And we have these two left, so what do you do for these two? What's the best way to group that? The best way to group that is make a larger group again like this, and that correspond to what? These two rows A, these two columns C, A, C. So this is how we do this question. This is a very complicated example, so you might need to think before you do grouping how to do that. If not, you can try many different groups and see which one gives you the most lowest number of terms as well as the literals. Sometimes you might see that all the ones are grouped again and again, and it's not needed. So if the ones are already grouped, you don't need to make another group. For example, you can see that if you start doing this group over here, it is going to be unnecessary. It is going to give you an extra term. So that is very important to see if you really need that group or not. If all the ones are already being grouped with the other terms, then you don't need that particular group. So that is something to remember when you do grouping. So that's all for today's lecture, everyone. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more lectures of this class as well as for other classes, and visit my website drpeirisclassroom.com. You can find the lectures on other courses also. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'll meet you again with another video.